Hello and welcome to this lesson on calculating fractions of an amount. Pop today's date and underline the title in your exercise book and then have a go at the Do Now question. It wants you to draw the conversion table into your exercise book and fill in the blanks. Whilst you do this, pause the video and then when you're ready to mark your answers, resume playing the video. So for a half, the equivalent decimal, hopefully you know, is 0.5. Multiplying this by 100 gets you 50% as a percentage. For 0.25, hopefully you remember that this is a quarter, which is also equivalent to 25%. For 75%, this is equivalent to 3 quarters, which is 0.75 as a decimal. Remember, to get from a percentage back to a decimal, we divide by 100. For 40%, this is the same as 4/10, which cancels to 2/5. Hopefully you remember this. And as an equivalent decimal, this is 0.4. For 1/5 then, this will be 0.2, and its percentage equivalent is 20%. And hopefully you can remember from the previous lesson that 0.125 is equivalent to 1/8, because remember, if we were colouring squares in a 100 square grid, it's 12.5%, which is 12.5 of the squares, which is then equivalent to your 1/8. So today's lesson then, we're going to be looking at calculating percentages of an amount, looking at also fractions of an amount, and also calculating quantities of amounts using decimals. The hook question for today, so why are we learning about this? It's because we want to be able to answer problem-solving questions like this. So Charlie, Sam and Rachel are fundraising for Age UK, Cancer Research and the Samaritans. They raise £1,600. They donate the money raised between the 3 charities in the following way. So they give Age UK 2/5 of what they've raised, 40% goes to Cancer Research and 2/10 to the Samaritans. We want to calculate how much each charity receives. So this lesson will focus on us revising and reviewing how to find fractions and percentages of amounts. You could come back to this slide later on and check that you know how to work this out. Okay then, let's have a look at some questions. So, calculate 50% of 30. So from previous knowledge then, we know that 50% is equivalent to 50 out of 100 when we're looking at a 100 square grid, which is equivalent to 1/2. So to find 50%, we also can find 1/2. So 1/2 of 30, 30 divided by 2 gives us 15. How could we write this as a decimal calculation? Well, we know 50% is 0.5. So this is equivalent to 0.5 multiplied by 30. Have a go at the following questions in your exercise book. For more challenging questions, have a look at the box at the bottom. Pause the video while you have a go, and then when you're ready to mark, resume playing. Answers then. For 50% of £18, hopefully you got £9. 50% of 130 kilograms, 65 kilograms, and 50% of 70 centimetres, 35 centimetres. Questions towards the bottom were slightly more challenging. So half of £13 would be equivalent to £6.50. Half of 87 is 43.5 kilograms, and half of 0.95 centimetres is 0.475 centimetres. To calculate 25% of 40, well, we know 25% is equivalent to 25 out of 100, which is equivalent to a quarter. To find a quarter of 40, we know we share by 4, so the answer would be 10. To write this as a decimal calculation, 25% is the same as 0.25, So this will be 0.25 multiplied by 40. Pause the video now and have a go at the questions on the right hand side. When you're ready to mark, resume playing the video. So the answers to the questions are as follows. Make sure you're marking them as you are going along. To calculate 75% of 60, well, we know 75% is the same as 75 100ths, which is equivalent to 3/4 if we were shading in a 100 square grid. So to work out 75% of 60, this is the same as working out 3/4 of 60. So to work out 3/4 of 60, we would first find 1/4 of 60 by sharing by 4, this gives 15, and then multiplying by 3 to work out what 3/4 is, and this then gives us 45. How could we write this as a decimal calculation? Well, 75% is equivalent to 0.75, so 0.75 multiplied by 60 would be the equivalent decimal calculation. Have a go at the questions on the right, pause the video while you have a go, and then when you're ready to mark, resume playing. Again, the box at the bottom are slightly more challenging questions. Once you're happy then, if you can mark the answers, they're appearing now on the screen. How do we calculate 35% of an amount? First of all, we can work out what 10% of an amount is. Remember, this is the same as 1/10. So to work out 10% of 80, we would work out 80 divided by 10 to give us 8. We could then multiply this by 3 to give us 30%. So 3 times 8 is 24. We could also half the 10% to work out what 5% is. So this would be 4. And then add the two answers together to give us what 35% is. In the same way then, can you have a go at the questions on the right hand side? The box towards the bottom have slightly more challenging questions in. Remember, if I wanted to find 2% of an amount, I would find 1% first by sharing by 100, and then I could double this to get the 2%. Pause the video while you have a go at the questions, and when you're ready to mark, resume playing the video. Hopefully you've got the following answers then. They're appearing on your screen now so that you can mark your answers. Let's now have a look at some fractions of amounts. How would I calculate 2/3 of 48? Well, I would work out what 1/3 is to start with, so 48 divided by 3 to give 16. And then I want 2 of these to get 2/3, so 16 times 2 gives me 32. Looking at this as a bar model, so 48 being my main total, then if I'm wanting to split this into thirds, I know that 1/3 is 16, so visually we can see that 2 of them are 32. At any time during the PowerPoint, you can copy down any of the examples and make sure anything you're unclear of or anything that you would like to keep as a record in your book, copy down. You can always go back and use the PowerPoint at the end of the video without the recording to then work through in your exercise book anything extra that you need. Now have a go at the questions on the right hand side. Pause the video while you have a go and then resume playing when you want to mark your work. So hopefully you've got these answers then. So £12, 78 kilograms, £37.50 and 300 metres. How would we calculate 3/7 of 28? First of all, we'd divide by 7 to work out what 1/7 is. Then we would multiply this by 3 to get 3/7. So 3/7 of 28 would be 12. Looking at this as a bar model, so if we're splitting 28 into 7ths, each of them would be 4, and then to calculate 3 of them, that would be 12. Again, pause the video while you have a go at the questions on the right hand side. Resume playing the video when you're ready to mark your work. The answers are appearing now. A cold call question. Be prepared. Give yourself 60 seconds to think and then resume playing the video. So what is the same and what is different about the calculations? The first calculation is like the examples that we've been working through. Find 3/5 of £60. So to start with, we would divide by 5 to work out what 1/5 is, and then multiply by 3 to work out what 3/5 is. The second question is actually telling us that 3/5 of a number is 60. So the 60 is actually the 3/5, which you can see in the diagram. It's not the whole amount this time. So to work out what the number is, this time we'd have to divide by 3. So 60 shared by 3 gives us 20 for what 1/5 is. So the whole number, let's go back, so the whole number works out to be 100. Let's have a look at one of these in more detail. If 2/5 of an amount is 14, calculate the original amount. So this is saying that 2/5 is 14. So to work out what 1/5 is, we need to do 14 divided by 2. So this is 7. So each of the fifths are worth 7. So to work out the original number, we have to work out 7 multiplied by 5. So the original number is 35. Now have a go at the questions on the right. Pause the video while you have a go, and then resume playing when you want to mark your work. The answers are appearing now then, so mark your work as we're going through. For the question at the bottom, what might the question be for the diagram? So the diagram is split into 5 equal pieces, so they're fifths. So the question might have been, work out 3/5 of 12 kilograms. You could then use this to change for different questions. So 3/5 we know is equivalent to 60%. So it could be calculate 60% of the amount. How might we calculate the following? So how might we calculate 0.1 multiplied by 12? Well, 0.1 we know is the same as 1/10, and 1/10 multiplied by 12, which is the same as working out what 1/10 of 12 is 1.2. We could have also done this by calculating 1 multiplied by 12, which is 12, and then dividing by 10. For 0.01 multiplied by 12, this is the same as working out 1/100th of 12. So this gives us 0.12. Equally, we could have done 1 times 12, which is 12, and then divided the result by 100. The calculations that are on the screen, oops. And when you're ready to mark your work, resume the video. Now how might we calculate the following? 400 divided by 0.1. Well, this is the same as 400 divided by 1/10. How many 1/10ths are in a whole one? There are 10. So how many in 400? This would be 4,000. 400 shared by 0.01 would be the same as 400 shared by 1/100th. So how many 1/100ths in a whole one? Well, there are 100 of them. So how many in 400? There would be 40,000. Have a go at the questions on the right, and again, resume playing the video when you're ready to mark your work. The answers are appearing now. You can pause at any time if you need more time to mark your answers. How would we calculate 0.3 multiplied by 40? Well, we know that 0.3 is 3/10. So we could work out 3/10 of 40, so 1/10 of 40. 40 shared by 10 will give us 4. So 3/10 of 40 will be 4 lots of this, 4 lots of 3, which will give us 12. So 0.3 multiplied by 40 is 12. Using the same method, let's have a go at 0.6 multiplied by 70. So 0.6 is equivalent to 6/10. We know that 1/10 is 7. 6/10 will be 6 lots of this, which is 42. So 0.6 times 70 is equal to 42. Have a go at the calculations on the right and resume playing the video when you want to mark your answers. The answers are appearing there now. Hopefully you managed to work these out. Investigate. Show that the values of these calculations are all equal. So pause the video and have a go. Remember, so 0.1, think about what it's equivalent to and think about finding that fraction of amount. You can do the same with the percentages, or you can work out in a different way if you wish. Pause the video while you have a go, then resume when you want to discuss the work. Hopefully you worked out the answers to these calculations and showed that they were all equal to 30. Now let's have a go at some true or false questions to consolidate your knowledge of everything we've discussed. 0.2 is equivalent to 2/10. True. 75% is equal to 7.5. False. Remember to change percentage to a decimal. We're dividing by 100, so this will be 0.75. Multiplying by 0.1 is equivalent to dividing by 10. True. 0.1 is equivalent to 1/10, which is the same as dividing by 10. To find 25% of a quantity, we can just divide by 4. True. We know that 25% is equivalent to 25 over 100, which is equivalent to 1/4, which is just dividing by 4. 3/5 of £25 is £15. Well, this is true because 1/5 would be 5, and then 3/5 would be 5 times 3, which is 15. The following cards are equal in value. False. This is false because 2/5 of 30, well 30 shared by 5 is 6, and 6 multiplied by 2 is 12. 15% of 40, well 10% will be 4. 5% will be 2, and this would give 6, so they are not equivalent. 65% of 40 is equal in value to 40% of 65. This is true if you work it out. Does this always work? Have a go at trying some different pairs of values. A diagnostic question. 0.6 multiplied by 50 is equivalent to finding the following quantity of an amount. Pause the video while you have a think about this. So 0.6 is equivalent to 6/10 and also 60/100. We know this is equivalent to 60%. But did any of you spot the last one? So 2 lots of 6/20 will be 12/20, which simplifies to 6/10, the same as all the others. Now have a go at the worksheet. The answers are all in the folder that are provided online, so in the student tab of the Home Learning Resource Centre. Good luck.